Water is a necessary component of life as science has established. That is why the water cycle is as important as water itself, as it ensures water supply for all living organisms and governs our planet's weather patterns. On the other hand, life, described as a mechanism capable of performing functions such as feeding, breathing, developing, and moving, has existed on the surface of the Earth for roughly 3.7 billion years. And within the circle of biodiversity, we find what we refer to as invasive species. They are non-native organisms that cause considerable damage when introduced to a new area. These species compete with wildlife for resources and thrive at the expense of the local ecosystem. As a result, over the course of human history, we were able to establish and gain information and technology that constituted scientific breakthroughs. And for years, these breakthroughs safeguard, defend, conserve, and secure our planet. Or not exactly. Is the presence of humans sufficient to protect the planet from risk, or are we, like invasive species, endangering it?
Anthropogenic effects are also identified as human impacts on the environment, where I, Sean Doroha, will be discussing these direct or indirect causes by us, humans, specifically our impact on one of the most essential compounds for every species on the planet Earth, which is water. The first anthropogenic effect is about climate change. Whereas the temperature increases, it causes the glaciers and icebergs to melt. In result, with less ice trapped on glaciers, there will be more water on the ocean and causes the sea level to rise, where it will cause mass flooding in most coastal areas, or worst case scenario, a whole country. The next anthropogenic effect is constructions of dams and reservoirs. These constructions of dams is essential for us, humans, aside from affecting the water quality, but also depriving nutrients from marine ecosystems. Finally, yet importantly, the water pollution coming from the acts of human beings. This process greatly affects the water cycle, wherein there's a disruption in our climate that causes sea level to rise. Consequently, human beings also inflict severe damages on our water resources. Therefore, humans are also considered invasive species. However, we are the dominant species that adversely affect our environment, especially the marine environment and the most essential compound, which is water.
Hi, my name is Mona Maria Taloso, and I'm here to talk about the invasive species. So there are countless ways that can negatively affect and disrupt the ecosystem and its natural resources, one of which is the introduction of invasive species. First, let us define what invasive species is. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration of the United States, invasive species are organisms that cause ecological or economic harm in a new environment where it is not native. Most invasive species are brought over by misguided human activities through exporting exotic or non-native organisms to other countries by means of ship or plane. Scientists estimate that there are approximately 7,000 invasive species in the United States alone. And an example of an invasive species is kudzu, a quick-growing vine originated from Japan and was brought to the United States in 1876. This invasive species quickly strangle native plants by blocking their source of light. Here are some ways to curb and spread the invasive species. So first is clean your fishing and boat equipment. Many invasive aquatic plants like milfoil hydrilla and giant salvinia reproduce through fragmentation, meaning any small piece of the plants that break of may begin new infestation. It is important to take advantage of these proactive measures when they are available and assume responsibility when they are not. Second, don't buy exotic plants or animals online. Exotic species are often beautiful, making them appealing for gardens and private aquariums, among other uses, but they can destroy the natural ecosystem that you value. Third is volunteer during removal events. Fourth is plant native species. And last, address the issue immediately. If you suspect an invasive species infestation, don't let it linger. And that's all for the invasive species. Thank you.
Epigenetics. Epigenetic studies have been quickly integrated into the field of molecular biology to test organism-environment interaction that can result in chronic effects. Many response to environmental stressors are influenced by epigenetic modifiers, according to a growing body of research. There are three major epigenetic mechanisms. First, DNA methylation. Second, histone modification. Third, non-coding RNA. The study of epigenetics in the virus model and non-model species used for aquatic toxicology experimentation has sparked a lot of interest. DNA methylation is the most widely studied transgeneration component in the study of multi-generation impact arising from environment-organism interaction. Some of the parallels between what has been observed in mammals and what has been observed in species used to research the effect of waterborne contaminants may come to an end. Most of what we know about epigenetics in marine species comes from zebrafish research. The role of epigenetics in understanding ecosystem function and response to stressors is still poorly understood. It is clear, however, that epigenetics is a key player in the development of adverse outcomes, and that epigenetic regulation is a key player in the development of local and short-term adaptation to environmental change.